Hello and welcome to our Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022 program. Hello, our viewers and listeners to our program of Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. This day marks the 126th anniversary of the Adwa victory, where gallant Ethiopians defeated Italians at the Battle of Adwa. The day is being marked with different assortments in different parts of the country. This is Shimelis Gebremichael with UMD News Package for today. We invite you all to stay with the program, and for your feedbacks, please use our email address newstips2020umd@gmail.com. UMD extensively works in understanding, measuring, and doing matters. Our news team attempts to update you with the latest in Ethiopia, the Horn, Africa, and the world in general. Any of your support, including the provision of news tips, comments, questions, and suggestions, are always welcomed. Before we jump into our news packet today, here are the headlines for the major news for the day. Turkey to support all paths to peace in Ethiopia. Getachew Reda called for urgent humanitarian assistance to Tigray. Ethiopian allies accused of Abe'ala Massacre against ethnic Tigrayans. Now we will move into providing more information on these and other news items. As we always say, please do not forget to like and share our programs and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, you can view our programs in other platforms, including Facebook. The first part of our segment is news in brief. Dear viewers, before we come into our program here today, while we were preparing to go live to our news broadcast, we have received one kind of breaking news from the United Nations Human Rights Council. So, a president of Human Rights Council has appointed members of investigative body in Ethiopia. We will present this news in more details, including any development thereafter in our upcoming news package. The first news that we are going to look today is regarding Turkey. Turkey to support all paths to peace in Ethiopia. Ankara's ambassador to Addis Ababa, Yaprak Alp, recently said amid the ongoing Tigray conflict in the country, Turkey is supporting every path that leads to peace and stability in Ethiopia. Briefing local media, Alp on last Saturday, February 26, 2022, said Turkey welcomes the national dialogue process that has been started recently, highlighting that both countries have supported each other during difficult times, Alp said. We welcome all initiatives towards peace and stability in Ethiopia. We are also glad that this is happening now and hope that the conflict will end by very soon for all our brothers and sisters. According to this latest information, Turkey has frequently voiced it is in touch with all sides in Ethiopia to urge negotiations. Tigray of some In Tigray, some 6 million people has been largely blockaded by Ethiopia's government since June of last year. According to the United Nations, the conflict has left thousands of people dead and forced many others to flee their homes, with hundreds of thousands now driven to the brink of starvation. Meanwhile, UAE sends food aid to Ethiopia's Tigray region. The United Arab Emirates sent a plane carrying 35 tons of foodstuffs to Ma'ala in the Tigray region, Ethiopia, as part of efforts to support the humanitarian situation. Ambassador of UAE to Ethiopia, Mohammed Al Rashidi, said that the sending of food supplies came at the directives of the UAE's leadership to support the humanitarian situation in the Tigray region. Al Rashidi said the UAE is keen on supporting the humanitarian situation in Tigray region and seeks to meet the population's needs resulting from food shortages. The UAE also sent 6 planes carrying 300 tons of relief and food supplies, including 200 tons of vegetable oil. According to Emirates news agency, the UAE also sent 18.5 tons of medical supplies as part of global efforts to combat the coronavirus pandemic. On the contrary, Getachew Reda called for urgent humanitarian assistance to Tigray. Advisor to the president of Tigray and an executive committee member of TPLF and member of the Central Command government of Tigray, Getachew Reda, said the people of Tigray need an urgent humanitarian assistance, according to Getachew, while welcoming some of the progresses on the rhetoric by the central government and the gesture to provide food and other humanitarian assistance by the international organizations. The people of the region are still in dire need of the basic needs, which calls for great urgency. Tigray External Affairs Office has also expressed its disappointment on the response of the international community on the debilitating humanitarian crisis in Tigray. According to the statement, about 100 trucks carrying food, non-food items, and fuel must enter Tigray daily to meet the needs of over 5 million people. However, between July 12 and February 27 of this year, only 1,339 trucks have entered Tigray out of the expected 23,000 trucks. China to provide emergency food aid to drought-affected Horn of Africa countries. China announced that it will provide emergency food aid to drought-affected countries in the Horn of Africa. This was conveyed by Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi to Somali's Foreign Minister Absaid Musa Ali during a phone conversation on Monday, February 28, 2022. Wang said the assistance to Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Djibouti comes as another step by China to implement the Initiative of Peaceful Development in the Horn of Africa. Proposed by China in January, the initiative aims to support the region's countries in addressing the triple challenge of security, development, and governance, and in realizing lasting stability, peace, and prosperity in the spirit of non interference with their domestic affairs. Last week, China appointed its former ambassador to Papua New Guinea, Zhu Bing, as a special envoy for the Horn of Africa affairs. Ethiopia to repatriate 100,000 people detained in Saudi. Ethiopia is planning to repatriate 100,000 nationals held in detention centers in Saudi Arabia. Many of them allegedly entered the country illegally and lack the necessary documents to work there. Ethiopia's government had formed a committee to look into cases of the migrants. The committee has discussed with the stakeholders on how to handle the matter, the Foreign Affairs Ministry said. The ministry's official, Bertukan Ayano, said those repatriated would also be rehabilitated. The detainees, on their part, said they were facing gross human rights violations, including lack of food, clean water, and health services. We will now move to the other story we have chosen to present in more details for today. In our story that we are going to look into more detail, we are going to see the ethnic cleansing, which was reported by Al Jazeera. So, Ethiopian allies accused of Abe'ala Massacre against ethnic Tigrayans. Survivors and witnesses say the Ethiopian allied forces went door to door for 5 days straight, targeting Tigrayans. Al Jazeera has recently revealed a story about the Abe'ala massacre. Here is how UMD compiled the story for its listeners and viewers to have a clear picture of those incidents. Desta Gabra remembers seeing hundreds of bodies littered all over the street, young men, children, and even pregnant women on December 24, 2021, just days after Ethiopian allied forces raided her hometown of Ab'ala in the Afar region. The 41-year-old and her five children were fleeing the community, which is at the border between the Afar and Tigray regions, after hiding for a week in a house of a neighbor, an ethnic Afar. They walked on foot for 3 days and then paid smugglers to cross into Tigray. They, she means soldiers, protected civilians of other ethnicities and erased the Tigrayans, said Desta, who now lives in the Dergaajan camp for internally displaced people IDP on the outskirts of Ma'ala, the Tigrayan capital. They killed, gang raped, looted, and arrested every Tigrayan they found in the town. Only if you knew an Afar to either hide you or you escape could you be saved. She still does not know whether her husband, who went missing in the combat, is dead or alive. In the camp, there are almost 7,000 people who fled from Ab'ala to Tigray in late December, including 26 girls who reported cases of sexual violence. The survivors, mostly women and children, are currently sheltered in four IDP centers, including Dergaajan, all located on the outskirts of Ma'ala. As part of its investigation, Al Jazeera obtained testimonies from dozens of them. They exterminated us all, Desta said. No Tigrayans are left now in the town. They committed genocide against us. Ethiopian federal forces and allied troops have been accused of weaponized sexual violence, mass detention, and summary executions. In June 2021, Eritrean troops retreated from much of Tigray when the Tigray forces captured most of the region from the Ethiopian Federal Army. But Eritrea has since then renewed its military partnership with the region's forces of Afar, one of the nine regional states in Ethiopia, which is next door to Asmara. Witnesses say the collaborative efforts between Ethiopia and its allied led to an attack of Ab'ala, a community of predominantly Tigrayan people, in December. In that interval, the allied forces killed unarmed Tigrayan civilians. Witnesses presented Al Jazeera with a list of 278 people they had confirmed dead. 15 survivors also recounted how Afar militiamen and Eritrean troops went from house to house seeking Tigrayans in a killing campaign that continued over 5 consecutive days. Asai Tetka is another survivor from IDP center as well. Lemlem says they came to our neighborhood at midday as I was baking injera in the backyard. Injera, by the way, is a flatbread very common for most Ethiopians and Tigrayans alike. They shot my husband and 11 other Tigrayan neighbors they found around, she said. Among them were 4 boys under the age of 5, killed alongside their parents. For the next 5 days, Asai hid in her house, staring at her husband's corpse and praying the soldiers would not return. When the blood stealing, when the bloodletting slowed down on December 24, she fled. The story continues, citing other evidences as well. Al Jazeera's report, compiled by Lucy Casa, is found on February the 25th, 2022's edition for your viewers and listeners to read and capture the full information. Well, with that, we come to an end of the news for today. This has been Shimelis Gebremichael here at UMD Media. Please do not forget to like and share our program and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow our programs through our other platforms as well, including the Facebook, in order to become the first to know about what's going on in Ethiopia, the Horn, Africa, and the world in general. You can easily reach us via our email address, newstips2020umd@gmail.com. Thank you for watching and have a good one.